Hello everybody! I'm glad to see you again here on my video. In my last video we read the pages 31 to 38 from Czerny's Pianoforte School Opus 500, Part 3. Wim Winters knows all this very well, of course. He has certainly read these pages from Czerny's piano school several times. But he deliberately avoids it. He won't tell his followers because he knows it will weaken and debunk his defense of his double beat story. His strongest defense point is his claim that the speed of the metronome marks is unachievable. He means that it isn't possible to play a whole piece consecutively and continuously at the same tempo if the number is too fast. He is right about that, but I say it again, you don't have to. You have now seen that the number is only intended for the first bars. It is a suggestion of a pace. It's the pace that you achieve after a long and intense preliminary study. You must have built up enough technique for this piece to be able to play it in tempo. I sometimes compare it with sports performance. I personally hate comparing music to sports, but building up the necessary skills in music making is like building sports performance. Let's take running the marathon as an example. That could be for pianists playing Beethoven's Appassionata. If you want to run the marathon one day, you have to train a lot in advance. Let's assume you are already a runner who runs regularly, but not more than 10 kilometers, that is about 6 or 7 miles. Then you have to train in such a way that you can run 1 kilometer every week more. So you have to train for at least 30 weeks to run 40 kilometers. But you want to run the marathon. Then it's best to build up an extra surplus so that you can run 50 kilometers. So you have to train for another 10 weeks. So you have to train for 40 weeks. Or even better, a whole year to prepare for the marathon as an already experienced runner. Now we go back to preparing for playing the Appassionata. Of course, you have to be an advanced player. You also have to build up that piece. If necessary, 1 page a day. Day after day, 1 page. First slowly and then faster and faster. In the end, you have to manage to play it in tempo. But that will take you many hours of study time, perhaps 4 to 5 hours a day. You also have to build up a surplus, an extra. Try to learn it a little faster than you are asked to. And then comes the big day of the marathon. It's a party in your soul when you make it. You get the same feeling when you play the Appassionata in a private circle or in front of a room full of audience. Now I suspect Wim Winters' followers that they do not pretend to run a marathon, and I'm sure of Wim Winters himself. At most, they would run the half marathon and proudly say to friends and acquaintances that they have run the entire marathon. They do the same with the Appassionata. They pretend to be able to play the Appassionata, but they do not mention that they play the sonata at half tempo. To play the Appassionata in the right tempo, they have to practice much more, like they ought to do preparing the whole marathon. Okay, now I'm going to play the second piece from Czerny's Tableau Mélodique, opus 667, and talk about it with regard of the pages 31 to 38 of his Pianoforte School, part 3. First of all, I play the first line. In bar 5, I have to make a ritenuto that is B, and Czerny says in B, in those passages which lead to some separate member of a melody. The melody is this. And now comes a separate part of this melody. And before that separate part, I make a ritenuto that is prescribed by Czerny. The tempo is 104, and that is the dotted quarter note. 104 is this tempo. The dotted quarter note. You can hear that I make before bar 5 a ritenuto. Listen again. That was B, the ritenuto, in those passages which lead to some separate member of a melody. Now we are at bar 8. In bar 8 we get a ritenuto prescribed in A. In those passages which contain the return to the principal subject. The principal subject, that was this. And now in bar 9, that is the same melody. But before 9 I make a ritenuto that is in these passages which contain the return to the principal subject. Here, these are only 3 chords that are these chords. On these chords I make a ritenuto. And then comes now I am in bar 12, and there we get the same as in the first line. Before bar 14 I make a ritenuto, that is B, in those passages which lead to some separate measure of the melody. From bar 9 in bar 13 I see dolce. Dolce is soft and with a sort of feeling of tenderness. From bar 13 the tempo is a little slower than at the beginning. Because of the dolce. From bar 9 now we are at bar 16. In 16 I have notated an E. The E is immediately after a pause. The pause is in the right hand. The left hand plays a broken chord. But the right hand has a pause. And in that pause, Czerny says you have to make a ritenuto. From bar 13 in bar 22 I have notated an F. F is at the diminuendo of a preceding very lively passage, as also in brilliant passages, when there suddenly occurs a thread of melody to be played piano, and with much delicacy. So there is a suddenly piano in bar 23. There again is a dolce. In bar 21 and 22 we play forte, and then suddenly in bar 23 we play dolce. And Czerny says before bar 23 you have to make a ritenuto. I play from bar 21. In bar 24 I notated a C. C is in those long and sustained notes which are to be struck with particular emphasis, and after which quicker notes are to follow. In bar 24 there are indeed long notes and these notes have to play with accents, with particular emphasis. And then in bar 26 there is again a dolce, and that is a suddenly thread of melody to be played piano, that is F, at the diminuendo of a preceding very lively passage, as also a brilliant passages where there suddenly occurs a thread of melody to be played piano and with much delicacy. Much delicacy, that is in bar 26, with much delicacy and dolce. before that passage I have to make a ritenuto. Then in bar 28 it's the same, we're long sustained notes. Then in bar 30 I see F, and that is at the diminuendo of a preceding very lively passage, as also in brilliant passages, when there suddenly occurs a thread of melody to be played piano and with much delicacy. That is the same as before. Bar 30. Then in bar 32 there is C, that is in those long and sustained notes which are to be struck with particular emphasis. These are long sustained notes. That is A. In those passages which contain the return to the principal subject. Here in bar 40, that is the principal subject. And before bar 40 I make a ritardando. From bar 37 till bar 38 till bar 39 I can make a little accelerando because there is a lot of drive. And then we are at bar 40. And that is the same as the beginning. From bar 45 there is an F, that is a suddenly change. That is a suddenly change to the dolce in bar 46, and also a suddenly change of harmony. This harmony. To accentuate this harmony, you have to wait very little. Here is again the principal melody. That is now in octaves, and before bar 52 there is an F, that is a suddenly change. There suddenly occurs a thread of melody to be played piano. There's also a dolce in bar 52. Before 52 I make a ritenuto. In bar 55 I notated a C. Long notes with particular emphasis. 56 a B, a passage which lead to some separate member of a melody. And here again in bar 58. In bar 61 I notated an I in very humorous, capricious and fantastic passages in order to hasten the character so much the more. Dit is chromatic. This chromatic line has its capricious and fantastic. Before that line I have to make a ritenuto. H in bar 65, occasionally also in the chief crescendo of a strongly marked sentence leading to an important passage or to the close. We are almost to the close. Again, bar 67. And I, the chromatic passage, but now in octaves. Capricious passage, and so on till bar 75, that is the end, and that is a sentence leading to an important passage or to the close. Dus in bar 75 I have also to make a ritenuto. Now I'm going to play the whole piece, and I hope you have a watch where you can follow me. Perhaps you can check the time when I am playing this piece. I hope that it is more than 1.5 minutes, because that is the time I have calculated when I play it non-stop, strict in time, without adagios, without accelerandos. That is the time when you play it as a machine. Okay, now I'm going to play the whole piece with all ritenutos and one accelerando. The tempo is 104, that is this tempo, that is the dotted quarter note. play this piece well, you can see a wavy sea in front of you. The waves roll in continuously and disappear again. Because of the pace, the weather is called turbulent, and the waves roll back and forth. So is this piece. The tempo is coming up and slowing down, sometimes a little, sometimes more, like the waves of the sea. So, this was it for today. I thank you for listening to me and I wish you a good day. Bye bye.